Hey, tonight we're exploring bizarre body reactions that helped early humans survive. Out here, the night is soft, still, but never truly silent. A low breeze hums outside your window, and somewhere in the dark, your heart keeps its own rhythm. You can feel it now if you listen. A faint thump, steady and slow, like footsteps walking further into the past. Your body carries stories far older than you, not written in ink, but in instinct, in goosebumps, in the way you flinch before you think. These aren't quirks or glitches. They're echoes of survival, built-in signals, whispered through blood and breath across thousands of years. You probably won't survive this world unchanged, but that's the point. So before you get too comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you enjoy quiet stories like this. And if you're still awake, share where you're listening from and what time it is there. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You lie still, but your body remembers motion, the shifting of leaves under bare feet, the warmth of packed earth. Long before cities, your ancestors lived with no walls, and that meant danger was everywhere. Even now, your senses don't quite trust that it's over. A rustle still catches your attention. A crack in the dark still tenses your shoulders. Why? Because for thousands of years, the people who didn't react didn't last. Every twitch, every quirk in your nervous system was carved by time. Bizarre, maybe, but not random. You blink more than you need to. You shiver in warm rooms. You flinch at soft sounds. These may seem like harmless leftovers, but at one point, each one was a choice between survival and silence. Take goosebumps, one of the oldest stories your skin can tell. Tiny muscles pulling at hair follicles, making you appear larger, warmer, more alert. On a cold night, they help trap heat. During fear, they puffed you up, just a little, enough to make a predator hesitate. You don't have fur anymore, but the signal remains, still triggered, still faithful, still waiting to be useful. That's the strange thing about your body. It doesn't forget. It just keeps listening, long after the threat is gone. Even now, curled under blankets, you carry those quiet adaptations. A whole hidden history tucked into reflexes. The way you look toward movement in your peripheral vision. The way your stomach tightens at a distant howl, even if it's just a train. You are, in a sense, haunted by the ones who came before. Not as ghosts, but as reflexes. Efficient, unthinking, and deeply familiar. There's a term for this in evolutionary biology, phylogenetic inertia. It means your body doesn't start from scratch. It builds on what worked, even if it's no longer needed. A fossil, not in stone, but in skin. And sometimes that fossil stirs. One example? Your fight or flight system. You've heard of it, that rush of adrenaline when you're startled. But it's not just about running or punching. It's about hyper-awareness, a readiness that spreads through your muscles, narrows your vision, even sharpens your hearing, all in under a second. Researchers have found that some people, particularly those with anxiety, are more prone to activating this system. Not because they're broken, but possibly because their ancestors were just more attuned, more cautious, more likely to wake at a distant growl and flee before it was too late. In that sense, anxiety might not be a flaw. It could be a deep genetic memory of vigilance. An unusual detail? That same response, a spike in cortisol and norepinephrine, also temporarily boosts your memory. So if you remember every embarrassing or dangerous thing that's ever happened to you, that too may have helped someone survive. But what happens when survival isn't about speed or strength or memory? Sometimes it's about stillness, Some prey animals freeze instead of fleeing, and so do you. It's a reflex, even now. You've probably felt it, that moment when your whole body pauses without your permission. The breath caught halfway, the stillness that falls like a hush across your nerves. Why? Because motion draws eyes, and eyes long ago meant danger. Even now, in safe rooms and cities, your body keeps practicing, holding rehearsals for a danger that may never return. That freeze isn't fear, it's strategy, passed down quietly, like a whisper only your cells remember. There's no need to fix it, just notice it, let it happen. You're not weak for pausing, you're old, very, very old. One open question: why do some people never freeze? Why do others freeze constantly, even when nothing's wrong? Some scientists believe trauma plays a role, that the more danger your lineage endured, the more tightly the reaction is coiled. But they're not sure. Maybe it's more random. Maybe it's part of that ancient equation we still haven't solved. How much fear is too much? When does a survival instinct start to blur into suffering? You're lying still now, but part of you, deep down, is still standing watch. That's not something to fight, that's something to honor. As your breath slows, feel the strange kindness of it. This body, handed down and down and down, always trying to keep you alive. Even now, even here, it doesn't ask for thanks. It just listens, always listening. Goosebumps rise on your arms, but the room is warm. There's no cold breeze, no lurking predator, just quiet. Just breath, just you, still and safe. And yet, your body responds anyway. Tiny muscles pull each hair upright, lifting the skin in delicate ridges. A soft, familiar tingle spreads across your shoulders, your forearms. It's subtle and strangely comforting, as if your body is telling a story without using words. A very old story. This reaction, known as piloerection, is one of the most ancient reflexes you carry. It belongs more to creatures with fur than to the bare-skinned human you are now. When threatened, a puffed-up coat makes an animal look larger, more intimidating, a way to bluff, a way to buy time. Maybe just enough time to escape. You don't have fur anymore, but the response never left. In fact, it's triggered not only by fear or cold, but by beauty. A swell of music, a sudden memory, the ache of something too large for words. Goosebumps from emotion, not survival. And yet, maybe it's all the same, because emotions are survival, connection, memory, warning, longing. Researchers have long puzzled over why humans still experience piloerection so frequently, especially without external threat. Some believe it's tied to emotional salience, a kind of inner radar for moments that matter. Your skin remembering things before your mind does. There's even evidence that this reaction is linked to your brain's default mode network, the quiet hum of internal thought, imagination, and memory, which means your body might be giving you goosebumps when you're not even fully aware of what's stirring beneath. That's both beautiful and a little eerie, because if your skin can remember what your mind forgets, what else might be hidden there? There's an old evolutionary theory, rarely talked about now, that suggests goosebumps once helped humans sense the supernatural, that the lifting of hairs might have served as a warning, not of cold or predators, but of something unseen. A presence, a change in energy, something shifting just beyond the campfire's edge. It's not widely accepted, of course, but then again, much of early human experience has been lost to silence. There are things we'll never be sure of. And maybe that's what makes this particular reaction so quietly strange. It sits at the intersection of physical need and emotional signal. It blurs the line between danger and awe. One study found that people who experience goosebumps more often from music and art tend to score higher on openness to experience. They may be more empathetic, more sensitive to subtle emotional cues. Their bodies listen more closely, even if they don't fully understand what they're hearing. Maybe that's you. Maybe your skin is just a little more attuned to echoes, not just of fear, but of meaning. You shift gently under the covers, noticing how your body feels. If the tiny hairs on your arm stand up, don't resist it. Let them. It's a conversation, not a malfunction. In a way, you're reenacting an ancient ritual. The same reaction your ancestors might have had, huddled beneath animal hides, staring into the dark woods. Their skins tingling not from temperature, but from the quiet, creeping realization. Something is out there, and perhaps it was. Or perhaps it was only the imagination, finally freed by the firelight. There's something soothing about that uncertainty. You don't need to explain every reaction. Some can simply unfold gently and unknowably, like waves returning to shore. In another culture, in another time, goosebumps might have been interpreted as a sign, a message from the gods, a spirit brushing past, a loved one remembering you from the other side. Science doesn't speak that language anymore, but your body still might. Because even the most rational explanations don't erase the poetry of survival. They simply illuminate it in a new light. Your skin, your nerves, your tiny muscles, all of it working in harmony to do what exactly? That's still debated. Some researchers suggest piloerection was originally more about thermoregulation, helping creatures trap body heat. You still get goosebumps in the cold after all. It's your skin's way of trying to fluff up something that's no longer there. The memory of fur. Others argue for the social signal theory, that goosebumps visible on the body might have communicated tension or emotion to others, just like blushing or a clenched jaw. A nonverbal cue. I'm afraid, I'm moved, I'm ready. But here's what no one fully understands. Why it still happens in private, when no one is watching. When you're alone in bed with no threat or audience. What is your body trying to say then? Maybe it's not about survival anymore. Maybe it's a relic that evolved into something softer. A signal no longer of fear, but of resonance. Your skin reacting to the invisible music of memory and imagination. And tonight, you might feel it more than usual, because in this quiet, your mind is more open, less distracted, more willing to hear the old language, the pulse of nerve endings, the hush of ancient instincts rising gently to the surface. You don't need to analyze it, just notice. Each goosebump is a flicker, like a spark catching in dry leaves. Not dangerous, not strange, just old, and still very much alive. You're still, but your body beneath the surface is alert, not anxious, not racing, just quietly ready. You don't feel it until it happens, that sudden stillness, that subtle pause, like something within you has dropped anchor. The breath caught, mid-inhale, the eyes fixed on nothing, but watching everything. That's the freeze response, and it's older than fear. Long before the first human dreamt of shelter, this instinct was already wired into the flesh, an automatic reaction, born in a world where movement could mean death, where the flicker of motion could draw eyes, and those eyes might belong to something hungry. So your body learns stillness. Even now, in safe rooms, behind locked doors, your nervous system rehearses. You might feel it when you hear a sound in the dark, or when someone suddenly calls your name, a small tightening, a moment when your muscles, your lungs, your entire body says, wait. Researchers call it tonic immobility, a state triggered by extreme threat, seen in animals, seen in humans, a final attempt to survive when fight and flight are no longer options. But here's the strange part. It doesn't just happen in trauma. It happens in whispers, in micro moments. It can be triggered by a glance, a sound, a memory, and it often passes before you even notice it. You might have felt it before a difficult conversation, or standing at the edge of a stage, or lying in bed, imagining a noise you can't quite place, that blink of time when your breath catches, not because of fear, but because something in you wants to disappear just long enough to stay safe. It's not panic, it's precision, an instinct passed down from prey animals that survived by stillness. Rabbits do it, deer, even sharks, when flipped over, enter this state. And so do you. Not because you're weak, but because your body is ancient, and it remembers how to vanish. One quietly fascinating study on tonic immobility in humans found that people who experienced it in response to traumatic events were more likely to later report dissociation, the sensation of watching yourself from outside your body. As if the freeze goes so deep, even you step back and wait. This opens up quiet questions. Is freezing always about danger? Or can it also be about overwhelm? About moments too big, too sharp, too fast for the nervous system to catch up? Maybe the freeze isn't just a shutdown. Maybe it's a recalibration. A moment where your entire body turns inward and says, "Give me a second. I need to decide who I am now." But even without trauma, this instinct lives in you. The brief silence when a shadow moves, the quick scan before stepping into an unfamiliar room, the way your body goes silent when you feel stared at, even if no one's there. And there's something poetic about that, because silence can be a form of power, stillness, a kind of presence. In the wild, the creature that freezes isn't helpless, it's watching, calculating. It becomes part of the background, waiting for the danger to pass. So when you feel that pause, that inner quiet, let it come. Don't rush to fill it. Don't label it. You are simply stepping into a very old ritual, one that has protected lives since before language. And in that space, there's wisdom. Another eerie detail. During tonic immobility, some animals experience analgesia, a temporary reduction in pain. Their bodies numb, not just movement, but sensation. A strange mercy offered by the nervous system when flight is no longer an option. There are whispers of this in humans too. Reports of people in accidents or violent events who felt no pain until long after. A body that chose silence over signal. Science still debates the exact mechanics, whether it's hormonal, neurological, or both. But the result is clear. The freeze response is not just about hiding, it's about survival through stillness, a momentary suspension of everything but breath. And sometimes, not even that. Think of animals that play dead, not for drama, for safety. Possums, certain snakes, even spiders. It's a last resort, but often an effective one. Many predators prefer living prey. Movement signals life. Stillness confuses. You carry that strategy quietly in your own biology. Maybe you felt it during arguments, or before a big decision. That moment of blankness, not because you didn't care, but because everything in you chose not to move. It's not always helpful. In a modern world, the freeze can become frustrating. A body that won't act, a mouth that won't speak. But that doesn't mean it's broken. It means your survival system is trying to help the only way it knows how. So tonight, if you feel your breath catch for no reason, don't fight it. Just listen. You are still. And that stillness is ancient. Let your mind drift for a moment, not in fear, but in reverence, for the countless lives this pause once protected, for the way your body still honors that past. There is a reason you're still here, And sometimes the reason is you froze when it mattered most. You inhale, slow, deep, effortless, and then you yawn. It stretches across your face like a ripple, drawing your jaw wide, tugging gently at the corners of your eyes. It's not something you plan. It just happens, a reflex as old as breathing. And perhaps, just like breathing, it was once a tool for survival. Yawning feels harmless, ordinary. But it's deeply mysterious, even now, even to science. Why do you do it? To get more oxygen? Maybe. To cool the brain? Possibly. To signal fatigue? That's part of it. But there's another stranger theory. Some researchers believe yawning began as a social warning system, a subtle tribal signal, a low-risk way to say, something's off. Stay alert. Before speech, before fire, before names, there were bodies. And bodies, like yours, learned to speak in silent codes. A yawn may have been more than tiredness. It may have meant unease or discomfort or readiness to move. One animal yawned, and the others noticed. The group tuned itself, one breath at a time, to shared vigilance. In that sense, yawning could have been a primitive alarm. Quiet, contagious, disarming. You've felt it, haven't you? One person yawns, and suddenly you do too. You're not even tired. It just happens. That's not random. That's resonance. A kind of limbic empathy built into your mirror neurons, the brain's way of syncing people together. And it goes even further. Yawning may also be about cooling the brain. Studies suggest it can regulate cranial temperature, like a breeze through a warm room. Before we had hats, shelters, or air conditioning, our bodies had to find clever ways to protect the brain. A yawn stretches the jaw, draws in fresh air, alters blood flow to the skull. So when you yawn, maybe you're not just bored or sleepy. Maybe you're helping your brain stay sharp. There's something almost eerie about that, isn't there? That your body might perform maintenance without your consent, a built-in air system for your thoughts. Even more curious, some animals yawn in response to threat. Baboons, wolves, even fish, all have been observed yawning in moments of tension. Not sleep, not boredom. Stress. It's as if the body, when pressed, reaches for a reset, a forced exhale, a stretch of the jaw that says, I'm still here. Your own yawns might not feel dramatic, but they're signals, not just to others, but to yourself. You yawn when you wake up to re-engage, when you're nervous to regulate, and late at night, like now, to ease into a slower rhythm, the rhythm of letting go. Yawning at bedtime is more than routine. It's the start of surrender, the body signaling you don't have to be alert anymore. The danger is past. The watch can end, but not everyone trusts it. In earlier times, yawns were treated with superstition. Some cultures believed the soul could escape during a yawn, hence the old practice of covering the mouth. Others thought demons could enter through it, that the act of opening, even involuntarily, was an invitation. Those beliefs sound distant now, but maybe they reflect something deeper. A recognition that yawning isn't just mechanical, that it opens something. Your breath, your brain, your posture, even your vulnerability. You can't yawn and fight at the same time. You can't yawn and hide. A yawn is exposure, trust, which makes it all the more interesting that yawning is contagious, even across species. Dogs yawn when their owners do. So do chimps, birds, and even some reptiles. Not because they're tired, but because they're watching, mirroring, feeling what you feel. One open question researchers still ponder: why do people with certain neurological differences, like autism spectrum disorder, yawn less contagiously? The answer isn't clear, but it hints at how yawning might be tied to social bonding, how it might have once helped synchronize a tribe, a village, a family, a way of saying, We're tired together. We can rest now. Tonight, you're probably yawning more than usual. That's no accident. The mind, when calm, allows the body to speak more freely, and your body has so much to say. A sigh, a stretch, a pause, and then that gentle yawn again. Let it come. No need to analyze it. No need to hold it in. Each time your jaw drops, your brain cools, your thoughts loosen, your breath deepens, and your body, ancient watchful, takes one more step toward rest. It's comforting to think that your ancestors did this too. Sitting by the fire, watching the stars, listening to the sounds of the night, a slow cascade of yawns spreading through the circle, one by one. A silent agreement. Enough watching. Time to sleep. So if you feel the yawn building again, don't resist it. Open wide. Breathe slow and feel yourself sink with every quiet sleeper that came before you. There's something about flickering light that pulls your gaze. It's subtle, a candle flame, a campfire, even the glow of a screen. Your eyes lock in, not with urgency, but with a kind of soft fascination. You stare, and the world around you blurs, fades. Time slows. This isn't new. Your ancestors were doing the same thing, long before electricity, long before stories had written words, sitting in circles around flame, watching it shift and sway. That gentle flicker offered not just warmth, but meaning. It held their attention, just as it holds yours now. But why? Why does your brain respond so strongly to certain kinds of movement? The answer may lie in a hidden survival skill, motion detection. In a world without walls, catching the slightest shift in the grass could mean everything. A predator crouching, a rival approaching. Your peripheral vision, your reflexes, even the shape of your eyes evolved to notice motion before form, color, or detail. And to this day, your attention is drawn, almost magnetically, to small, irregular movements, the kind made by wind or by something alive. So when you find yourself staring at a flame, part of what you're seeing isn't just beauty. It's a safe, contained version of wild motion, just enough to keep your instincts entertained, but not enough to provoke alarm. This creates what some researchers call a cognitive rest state, a space where your attention is gently held, but not taxed. It's the same state you might enter during light meditation, or when watching leaves in the wind, or water lapping at the shore. Your mind drifts, your body softens, and yet a quiet part of you keeps watch. But fire, specifically, has always had an extra layer of meaning. Because it wasn't just survival, it was control. To early humans, fire meant power, safety, cooking, warmth, and maybe most importantly, a protective edge against predators. With fire, the night belonged to them. And so, over thousands of years, your brain began to associate that glow with security. Even now, the light from a lamp or candle can calm your nervous system. Your parasympathetic response, the system that slows your heart and digestion, begins to hum. A flame is not just decoration, it's a signal. You're safe. You're not alone. The night won't hurt you. There's something eerie, though, in how deep this goes. One study from 2014 showed that participants who spent time watching a fire, even on video, had significantly lower blood pressure and reported increased feelings of relaxation and social connection. But it only worked when the fire crackled. Silence didn't do it. The sound of fire mattered. That subtle pop and hiss, that shifting crackle, your brain hears it not as noise, but as ancestral lullaby. It means people are near, it means warmth, it means survival is happening right now. And maybe, so is story. Because the fire was where language took root, where tales were told, where lessons were passed from mouth to ear, generation to generation. Firelight made shadows dance. It let the imagination stretch. There are theories that our species' uniquely long evenings, hours spent inactive but awake, actually helped drive the development of culture. The quiet time after the hunt, after the danger, the time to reflect, to share, to imagine, and still you do it. Late at night, your mind tells stories. You replay things. You create whole worlds behind your closed eyes. That may not be distraction. It might be one of the most ancient human instincts there is. So when you find yourself watching something move, a flame, a screen, a dream forming behind your eyelids, you are tapping into that, a deep trance of attention, soft, receptive, alive. Here's a strange twist. The same circuits that lock onto movement for survival also activate during empathy. When you watch a flame or a pair of eyes, your mirror neurons fire, not just to observe, but to feel. It's possible that this connection between watching movement and feeling emotion is part of why humans form deep social bonds. We learn to watch each other, to read faces, to detect pain, joy, danger, without needing words. And so, you can't look away. Not because you're trapped, but because some part of you knows. This matters. The flicker, the shift, the eye contact, the glow. It's not distraction, it's orientation. You're still tuning your senses to the world, even when nothing is hunting you. Even when you're safe in bed. Even when the only thing moving is a thought drifting quietly across your mind. Let yourself watch it. Don't chase it. Don't name it. Just notice the motion. Just feel your body remembering how to sit by a fire and wait. You blink, not from light, not from thought, just because. A quiet little twitch behind the eyes. And then again, not a decision, not a plan, only the body's silent rhythm unfolding without your say. Out here in the darkness of ancient plains where shadows once moved faster than thought, such reflexes were survival. You imagine a slight rustle in the tall grass. Before your conscious mind even interprets it, your pupils shrink, your shoulders tense, your lungs pause. These are not your choices, but something older inside you, deeply rehearsed. That sudden startle? That's called the orienting response, a built-in neurological spotlight that swings toward unexpected input. It's older than language. You don't decide to turn your head, your body turns you, like a string tugging at the base of your skull. Researchers say it's a preconscious prioritization system, filtering danger from noise long before you're aware of either. Now picture this. An early human squatting by a river, cupping water with calloused palms. A nearby twig snaps. The eyes widen, breath catches, muscles coiled in a flash. The individual never thinks, I should be ready. The body is already acting, faster than cognition. It's eerie, isn't it? The way the mind lags behind the flesh. And sometimes it goes deeper. You know that chill that climbs the spine when you're being watched? That skin prickle sense of presence? Science still struggles with it. Some say it's a relic of living among predators. Others suggest micro-cues, sounds below your awareness, changes in air pressure, pheromones you can't name. But there's no full consensus. Some studies find spikes in skin conductance and brain activity even in empty rooms, simply when the idea of observation is introduced. A classroom, a forest, a street. When you're told someone might be watching, your body preps itself anyway. Shoulders lift, neck tightens, reflexes ready. You drift now into a space between awareness and instinct. You think of the animals that survived not through strength, but through split-second hesitation, jerks, flinches, half steps backward. A deer's ear flick, a rabbit's freeze, all rehearsed movements, passed down like heirlooms through the marrow of time. And strangely, many of those responses live on inside you, not just in danger, but in everyday life. Ever felt your hand pull away from a hot stove before you even realized it was hot? That's called the nociceptive withdrawal reflex, and it doesn't involve your brain. Not at first. The signal moves through your spine like a whisper along an old, well-traveled path, a shortcut forged before thinking even became a thing. Your nervous system is full of such ghost highways, routes bypassing consciousness entirely. Like emergency doors swinging open before you notice the fire. Ancient instincts, deeply encoded, immune to the slowness of thought. There's something eerie in that. The realization that your body doesn't always need you to act. And then there's the cough, the blink, the flinch at a loud sound. These aren't signs of weakness. They are systems tuning themselves constantly. Self-checks from a nervous system always scanning for error, for intrusion, for imbalance. A twitch of the eyelid might be magnesium. A yawn might be low oxygen. A hiccup, well, that one's odd. Did you know some scientists think hiccups are a leftover from our amphibian ancestors? Creatures that once breathed through gills had a reflex to close the glottis while swallowing water, the very movement that now creates the hiccup. A strange little ghost of the sea still living in your throat, and it goes deeper still, even deeper. There's a rare disorder where a person cannot suppress their reflexes. Every sound, every light, every slight surprise launches them into involuntary movement. It's called hyperexplexia, startle disease. In extreme cases, it can be fatal. The reflexes, so protective in moderation, become overwhelming when ungoverned, and it makes you wonder, how thin is the line between survival and disorder? Between instinct and overreaction? That's the paradox of reflexes. They're supposed to protect, but they operate on a knife's edge. 1 millisecond too slow, and you're prey. 1 millisecond too quick, and you're frozen in fear at every breeze. Researchers still debate whether these reactions are learned from environment over time or whether they're hardwired from birth. Most agree it's a blend, but nobody quite knows how much can be unlearned, how much you can rewire the thing that jerks your hand from fire or keeps you from stepping off the curb. You shift slightly under the blankets now, your own reflexes adjusting. Maybe your breath slows, maybe your eyelids dip just a little heavier. Out there, your ancient ancestors stayed alive through flinches and tremors. But here, in this room, there is no rustling grass, no sudden predators, only the gentle twitch of thought, soft and strange, as you float between layers of knowing. The reflexes are still there, still yours. But tonight, they don't need to do anything at all, not unless you want them to. Your skin stirs, not from cold, not from touch, just an odd tingling across your arms as if something brushed past but didn't. A silent ripple, hair by hair, crawling up from elbow to shoulder like an invisible shiver. We call it goosebumps, but there are no geese, no bumps, just tiny muscles beneath each hair follicle, flexing without request. Why? You're lying in bed, unmoving, safe, yet your body still flickers with this ancient trick. Because goosebumps aren't meant for now. They are messages from a body built for before. Back then, when you had more hair, not just on your head, but all over, goosebumps served a purpose. When threatened or chilled, they puffed up your fur, made you look bigger, more fearsome, less edible. The same way cats fluff up when cornered, or porcupines fan their spines like armor. You don't need that defense anymore. But your body doesn't know that. It still remembers a time when fear was physical, when appearance could save you, when the shape of your silhouette might make a predator think twice. Goosebumps are the fossil of that fear, but they're also tied to something stranger, Emotion. Ever cried from a song? Or felt chills at the end of a movie? A specific line, a pause, a swelling chord? That moment when something hits you too beautifully? Goosebumps arrive then too. But this time, there's no threat. Scientists call it frisson, a sudden, pleasurable wave of awe or poignancy that triggers the body's ancient alert system. Except now, it's not fear, it's feeling. You're safe, and still your body shakes. Imagine that. A reflex designed for battle now used to register beauty. It's as if the system never shut down, only repurposed itself. You're not being hunted, you're being moved. That's the eerie poetry of biology. The same circuit that told your ancestors to run from danger now tells you to stay and feel. Some researchers think this emotional goosebump evolved from social bonding, that it's our body's way of saying this moment matters. It could be shared grief, a ritual, a ceremony, the first time humans sang together in the dark. Goosebumps aren't just survival anymore. They're memory, they're meaning. And yet they still come with cold, don't they? That strange electric rise on your arms when the temperature dips? The body's attempt to trap warmth with fur that isn't there anymore. Like throwing up the hood of a jacket that doesn't exist. Like whispering, "Get ready," when there's nothing to get ready for. Even weirder, some people get goosebumps when they frighten others. It's rare, but documented. A speaker watching a crowd gasp. A performer mid-scream. Something in the act of wielding power over emotion can echo back into the skin. A kind of feedback loop, as if your body responds not just to fear, but to fear you cause. It blurs the line between hunter and prey, between the self and the audience, between feeling something and watching someone else feel it because of you. And it makes you wonder, how many of your reactions are yours alone? And how many are echoes? Because goosebumps aren't just personal, they're contagious. You see someone else shiver and your arm flinches. You hear a gasp and your neck tightens. Mirror neurons. Empathy. Shared reflex. One body reacting to the ghost signals of another. Even in sleep, this echo persists. Ever woken from a dream of falling, heart racing, skin alert? Your body braced for an impact that never came. The goosebumps were real. The fear was not, but your biology can't tell the difference. And in that confusion lies something very old. A body still trying to protect you from ghosts. Ghosts of tigers, ghosts of cold, ghosts of awe. Ghosts of things that mattered too much, too quickly, and left behind only ripples on the flesh. Now you lie still, your arms warm beneath the blanket. The tingling has faded, the hairs are flat, no need to look bigger, no danger in the dark. And still, if the music rose just right, or if a single sentence cut a little too close, your skin would remember. It always does. Deep beneath your ribs, behind the quiet lull of your breath, there's a soft churning you rarely notice. But sometimes, it flips. A tight twist, a flutter, a drop. Your stomach, where dinner should sit calmly digesting, suddenly acts like it saw a ghost. It didn't, but it thought it did. That feeling? Butterflies, nerves, gut-wrenching dread. The body's second brain waking up. Because your digestive system, the long winding tunnel from mouth to elsewhere, is coated in a vast network of neurons. Over 100 million, more than a cat's brain. It's called the enteric nervous system, and while it won't solve math problems, it will panic. Sometimes before you do. It senses threat before you understand it. It tightens, contracts, sometimes shuts down entirely. It's why you can't eat when you're terrified. Why bad news kills appetite. Why grief makes food taste like dust. But in early humans, this gut panic had a purpose. When danger struck, a predator, a storm, a stranger with bad intentions, the body needed every ounce of energy to survive. Digestion is lazy. It takes resources, blood, heat, focus. So evolution made a decision. Shut it off. Right now, shut down the lunch line, empty the stomach, make room for action. Sometimes that meant nausea. Sometimes it meant throwing up. Or the opposite, evacuating fast. Disgust evolved as a defense. If you saw rotting meat, mold, or a diseased corpse, your gut recoiled. That twist in your stomach wasn't just emotion, it was biology hissing no. An ancient firewall against poison, parasites, plague. Even today, your gut reacts to pictures, smells. Imagine threats. You scroll your phone and see something awful, and suddenly your belly curls inward. No tiger, no disease, no real risk, but your stomach doesn't care. It reacts to possibility, not just presence. And then there's the flip side, when you fall in love or stand on a stage or wait for a message that never comes. Why would romance and public speaking feel like dying? Because in early human tribes, being seen was dangerous. Standing alone, being judged, being desired, being rejected. These weren't just emotional, they were survival critical. Exile was death, disgrace was danger, and intimacy, it meant vulnerability, risk, surrender. So your stomach learned to signal, be careful, something's happening. This could change everything. It hums with premonition. And while your brain chatters logically, it's just a job interview, or just text them back, your gut has already coiled, already cast its vote, already prepared for the fall. Even now, as you lie in bed, think of this, that you have a thinking organ in your abdomen, one that remembers things you never noticed, one that tenses before you're even aware, a twitching oracle of meat and nerves and microbial whispers. Some scientists believe the gut doesn't just react, it guides. That your feelings, your instincts, often begin there. That decisions arise first in your belly and only later in your brain. And that eerie feeling, when something feels off but you can't explain why, that's your gut screaming in a language older than words. It's not always right, but it's always trying to protect you, even from dreams. You may dream of being chased, of being seen, of being swallowed, and wake with an ache low in your core, tight, fluttering, alert. Your gut doesn't know the dream wasn't real. It just knows you were vulnerable. So it tenses, prepares, whispers up the spine. And you lie there blanketed, quiet, with a body that still believes it's running. Not from a tiger, but from the echo of something deeper. A memory not stored in your mind, but in your middle. The gut, the ghost keeper. The stomach, always listening. And now, it too begins to soften, to release, to forget. The threat was imagined. The body is safe. And for the first time in hours, you exhale all the way down. The darkness of night folds around you like a heavy, familiar blanket. Somewhere in the folds of your mind, you're still wandering through those ancient forests where every twig's crack and rustle might once have spelled danger. But now it's just you, alone in thought, drifting softly. You follow that thread back to your body, to the strange, reactive vessel that has kept humans alive far longer than they were ever meant to survive. And in this moment, we settle into one of the strangest reflexes of all, something so counterintuitive, it puzzled scientists for decades, the mammalian diving reflex. You don't need to dive into cold waters tonight, but imagine that you do. Picture your face slipping below the surface of an icy stream, and instantly, without a thought, your body changes. Your heart slows down, drastically. Your blood pulls away from the skin and rushes toward your brain and heart. Your limbs, in a way, are abandoned to the cold, while the vital organs are locked in a protected, preserved state. It's automatic, primitive, and life-saving. You wouldn't think the human body, a land-dwelling creature, would need this. But the diving reflex isn't just ours. It's in seals, otters, even whales. It turns out that humans, too, carry the faint traces of aquatic ancestry, or at least the ability to survive a plunge they didn't ask for. And children, especially infants, show it most dramatically. When babies are submerged in water, they instinctively hold their breath and slow their heart rate, even though they've never been taught how. Isn't it strange? This reflex suggests that beneath our dry, land-walking lives, there's a deep evolutionary memory of water, of survival in places we no longer belong. You think of your own body, curled now under the covers. The idea that it might know how to survive the cold embrace of water, even in sleep, feels oddly comforting. Your heart, too, might know how to slow down when it must. Maybe even now, as you exhale slower and slower, you're mimicking it, this ancient aquatic trick. Researchers still debate its origins. Some say it's merely a fluke, a side effect of other adaptations. Others suspect it's a leftover from a time when human ancestors lived closer to the sea. There's even a fringe theory, lovingly called the aquatic ape hypothesis, which suggests early humans spent time wading, fishing, swimming, that our upright stance, sparse body hair, and breath control were shaped by water. Most mainstream scientists roll their eyes at it. But even still, that image lingers. You, hair damp from the sea, standing tall in the shallows. A memory that isn't yours, but feels strangely close. There's something gentle in the diving reflex. Unlike fight or flight, which tears the body into action, the dive slows everything down. The body stops panicking, stops flailing. It waits, conserves, preserves, as if it knows help is coming, or at least that panicking won't bring it any faster. It makes you wonder about all the things your body still remembers, even the things you've never practiced. Could it be that somewhere deep inside, your body holds a memory of floating, of holding your breath in perfect silence, of knowing that sometimes stillness is survival? You picture yourself beneath calm water, suspended like time has stopped. The noise of the world dulls. Your thoughts move slower, more like mist than sentences. There's no urgency in this place, just the slow beating of your heart and the sense that whatever comes next can wait. This reflex might have saved a child once, swept into a river, unconscious, heart slowed to a near stop, brain protected just long enough for rescue. And even if your days never include cold water or drowning, the mechanism is still there, waiting. Like an old key to a door you may never need to open, but one that's comforting to keep nearby. And as your breath evens out now, slow and rhythmic, it's hard not to wonder what other buried skills lie dormant inside you. What else might your body remember that your conscious mind has long forgotten? Maybe that's the quiet truth of tonight's journey. That survival doesn't always look like strength or speed. Sometimes it's surrender. Sometimes it's the slow, deliberate act of pausing everything and trusting that silence will pass. That the stillness you feel now is not emptiness, but strategy. Nature's hidden preparation. Your fingers twitch slightly beneath the blanket, the only sign that you're still half aware, still drifting. The hum of night outside your window grows softer, as if matching your pulse. And deep inside, your body does what it's always done. Remembers, adjusts, and waits for dawn. You float there for a while longer, somewhere between memory and biology, wrapped in a secret your ancestors passed down without a word. The water doesn't rise tonight, but even if it did, you'd be ready. Your thoughts now drift toward another mystery, not of water, but of sight. You begin to recall a feeling you've had before, in dim rooms or dusky evenings, when something at the edge of your vision seemed to move, just barely. You turned your head, and there was nothing. But the sensation lingered, that eerie, crawling doubt. Did I really see something? Or is my mind inventing ghosts again? Tonight, in the quiet dark of your room, we explore this strange and slippery terrain. The realm of peripheral vision and the subtle tricks your eyes play on you when you're least prepared. Your eyes, after all, are not simple windows to the world. They're complex machines of flesh and fluid connected to a brain that's constantly guessing what's real and filling in what's not. The center of your vision, where your gaze falls directly, is sharp, focused, richly detailed. But everything else, the blurry outer edges, that's where the weirdness lives. Your peripheral vision isn't built for detail. It's built for movement, for detecting predators and prey. It's ancient code, honed when early humans slept beneath open skies, with danger that could skitter from the dark at any moment. Even now, that old vigilance lingers. That's why sometimes you catch a flicker and nothing's there. But here's the strangest part. That sensation you feel, the one where you swear something's watching just outside your line of sight, might not be entirely imagined. Your brain is so eager to protect you, it's constantly scanning, constantly interpreting shadows and motion. And when data is missing, your brain simply makes its best guess. It fills in gaps. Sometimes it fills them with memories. Other times, with fears. It's a bit like dreaming while awake. And there's a special quirk too, hidden in the structure of your eye, the rod cells that live in the periphery. Unlike the cone cells in the center of your retina that see fine detail and color, rods are colorblind, but they are incredibly sensitive to light and motion. They fire in low light conditions, in the dim, quiet spaces you're resting in now. That's why when the room gets dark and you stare ahead into the quiet, you start to notice things in the corner of your eye. The rods activate. They notice movement or suggest movement, and your brain, eager for patterns, offers you a shape, a shadow, a flicker, a face maybe, familiar or not, gone as soon as you look directly. Your heartbeat doesn't rise, not tonight, because you know what it is. It's biology, a nervous system reaching into the dark just in case, a ghost made of neurons. It becomes even more surreal when we bring hypnagogic imagery into the mix, the flickering images that show up right before sleep, patterns, faces, sometimes entire scenes. They're projected on the canvas of your closed eyelids, like echoes of thought. Science still debates whether these are fragments of dreams, pieces of memory, or simply the brain testing its imagination before letting go. Whatever they are, they live on the same edge as your peripheral vision. Half real, half interpreted, but deeply felt. They blend with the fabric of the night until you're not sure what's out there and what's inside. The boundary between the world and your mind becomes porous. You shift your eyes slightly, not to look at anything, but to soften your focus. It's like standing at the threshold of sleep, not stepping through yet, just lingering. Just long enough to notice how your brain weaves the edges together. Light and shadow, real and not real. It all feels the same when you're this relaxed. And in a way, that's the point. Your brain was never designed for perfect clarity. It was designed for survival, for rapid guesses and quick reactions. The strange figures that flicker at the edges aren't always hallucinations. They're possibilities. They're warnings. They're the mind's way of saying, If something were there, would you be ready? Tonight, you don't need to be ready. You're safe. The shadows stay quiet, but your body, your mind, still remembers how to look. You might be surprised to know that artists and soldiers train to use peripheral vision. Martial artists talk of soft focus, a gaze that's relaxed, yet all-encompassing. Hunters track movement in the brush using side glances. Even in modern sports, athletes train themselves to sense their opponents at the edges of awareness. Because the truth is, sometimes what you don't look at directly tells you the most. You breathe in, slow. Hold for a moment. Breathe out. Your body is winding down, but your senses are still humming. Low, patient, tuned to the hum of the night. You blink slowly, and as your eyes half close, the periphery grows even stronger. It's the twilight zone of your mind, the borderlands of waking life, and tonight you're just passing through. As you drift, one final thought settles gently over you, like a mist, that you don't have to see everything clearly to understand it. Sometimes, the edges tell the story better than the center. Sometimes it's in the flicker, the blur, the almost, that truth reveals itself. You let go of focus now. You sink. The prairie becomes the whole. And in this quiet blur, you are free. You're falling now. Not quickly, but slowly, like a feather drifting through dusk. And in this falling, another question floats into your half-conscious mind. It's something you've never fully asked, but always felt. Why does silence feel loud when you're trying to sleep? You're wrapped in stillness right now. The room is hushed. No voices, no music, no movement. And yet your ears are alive. Every creak of wood, every sigh of the wind outside, every breath you take sounds exaggerated, as if the universe has turned up the volume on emptiness. You're not imagining it. Your brain, that loyal little signal amplifier, adjusts to your environment constantly. When loud sounds vanish, your auditory system becomes more sensitive, not less. It's like walking into a dark cave. Your eyes strain to catch even a glimmer of light. Your ears do the same in quiet spaces, straining for the faintest noise. This phenomenon even has a name: auditory gain control. As the world dims, your brain turns up the internal microphone. You might hear a distant hum, maybe from the air conditioner, maybe from a street lamp buzzing outside, or maybe from within. Because here's the strange twist. When the outside world goes silent, your brain starts listening inward, to your heartbeat, to your breath, to the whispering swirl of your own blood, to the tiny symphony of your body continuing its ancient work. You begin to notice what is usually hidden beneath the noise. Sometimes people even hear sounds that aren't there. Phantom whispers, high-pitched tones, ocean-like static. This is not a flaw. It's your brain, in the absence of input, filling in the blanks. The same way it does with vision in the dark, it does with sound in the still. There's even a term for it: the threshold of audibility. You're resting right at the edge of it now, the border between the real and the imagined, where your ears become painters and your mind provides the canvas. That's why so many people play white noise to sleep. A fan, rain sounds, a distant hum. These aren't just calming, they serve a biological function. They fill the void so your brain doesn't have to. They keep your auditory system busy so it doesn't start inventing trouble. You breathe out, slow. The silence hums like velvet. You might begin to notice the earworm effect too, when a melody or voice from earlier in the day replays itself, looping softly inside your head. It might be a commercial jingle, a sad song, a phrase someone spoke. It's harmless, usually. But it's a curious thing, isn't it? that the mind keeps talking even when no one's around. There's research suggesting that earworms are a byproduct of the brain's working memory loop, your mind's way of keeping itself busy, like tapping a pencil or pacing a room. In silence, with no conversation to follow or noise to chase, it picks up a mental tune and plays it back. Not because it has to, but because it can. Still, there's another kind of sound that enters in these quiet hours. Not just imagined or remembered, but deeply biological. Have you ever heard your heartbeat in your ears? That pulsing throb, slow, rhythmic, is a sound you can only catch in very still moments. It's caused by blood flowing through arteries near your inner ear, especially when your head is resting on a pillow. It's a real sound, not hallucination, not imagination. You're literally hearing the life inside you. It's poetic, really. In a noisy world, we rarely hear our own heart. But tonight, the noise is gone. You're here with the pulse and the breath and the soft, shifting fabric of sleep closing in. You think now of deep-sea divers who describe a moment hundreds of feet below the surface when sound vanishes entirely. Not even bubbles to break the silence, just their own breath in the mask, their own heart in the water, the thrum of being alive in a world without sound. That's where you are now. Not beneath the ocean, but somewhere equally deep, in the ocean of your own awareness. And in this place, silence is not absence. It is presence, full, expansive, profound. You realize now that silence is not the opposite of sound. It's its companion. It's what reveals it, frames it. And when you're resting like this, silence becomes sound's mirror, showing you what's always been underneath. You don't need to chase it, just listen. Let it open. Let the room stretch wide around you. Let the hum grow softer. And know this, you are not alone in the silence. You are surrounded by the oldest orchestra in the world, the breath, the blood, the quiet ticking of thought, and beneath it all, the gentle, endless hush of being here. Now, you are no longer just drifting. You are suspended, hovering in the deep middle of your mind, where time forgets how to move and thoughts become wide and slow. It's a strange weightlessness, like floating between two worlds, the one you left behind when you closed your eyes and the one you haven't quite arrived at yet. And in this space between, another slow, curious question surfaces. Why do dreams feel real until they don't? You've had that moment, haven't you? The dream is vivid. You're standing somewhere impossible, a place that both is and isn't your childhood home. The sky is the wrong color. A person you haven't seen in years appears, says something that feels meaningful. It all makes perfect sense while it's happening. And then you wake, and in a second, it shatters. The logic dissolves. The faces blur. The profound message you were sure you would remember is already fading like smoke. But why? Because dreaming is your brain's way of playing with memory, meaning, and emotion, but without the rules of waking life. While you sleep, your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for critical thinking and logic, goes offline. It's like your brain's editor has stepped out of the room. Meanwhile, your limbic system, the emotional core, stays wide awake, humming with feeling and imagery. That's why dreams often feel emotionally intense, but logically ridiculous. You're flying a bicycle through a library. You're having dinner with someone who's both your childhood pet and your math teacher. You understand the moment completely until you're conscious again. Your brain in sleep becomes a surreal artist, mixing metaphors, smashing symbols together, blending fear and love and nostalgia into thick, weird paste. It's not trying to make sense. It's trying to process. Dreams often replay elements from your day, but not directly. Instead, they recombine them. That noise you heard in the grocery store becomes a train in your dream. That strange interaction you had with a friend morphs into a whispering statue. These aren't just glitches. They're part of your brain's filing system. During REM sleep, your mind is doing a deep clean of emotional clutter, reorganizing memories, strengthening neural connections, and sweeping away the irrelevant. It's like tidying a messy room while blindfolded. You might put things in strange places, but the work is still being done. And you're floating in the middle of that process now. You might be beginning to slip into dreams already, not full ones, just fragments, images, echoes. Maybe you've noticed a strange face flash behind your eyes, a moment of movement that wasn't quite voluntary, a tiny startle. That's called a hypnagogic jerk, your body's odd little twitch as it shifts from waking control to sleep surrender. It's not dangerous, it's just the last spark of wakefulness letting go. And behind that, the dream door begins to open. You may not realize it when it happens. You may simply slide in. One moment you're listening to this voice, letting it wrap you in ideas and soft facts, and the next, you're somewhere else entirely. Maybe you're walking through a quiet forest, the leaves making no sound. Maybe you're inside an old house that smells like books and cinnamon. Maybe you're speaking with someone who understands you completely, without words. Wherever you go, your brain will make it feel real. That's the strange, elegant magic of dreaming. It doesn't obey reality, it obeys emotional gravity. In dreams, what you feel is more important than what makes sense. You don't need doors, you don't need physics, you don't need continuity. All you need is presence, sensation, feeling. And that's why dreams can heal. They let you relive memories, change outcomes, have conversations you never got to finish. Sometimes they let you cry. Sometimes they let you laugh. Sometimes they let you forget. And when you wake, even if you don't remember the dream, the emotional dust has settled just a bit. Something inside has been touched, sorted, softened. That's happening now. Even as you lie here, listening. Even as your breath gets slower, even as your muscles let go. You may not notice the exact moment the story ends and the dream begins. You don't have to. Just let yourself slip. Let the strange logic begin to bloom behind your eyes. Let the prefrontal guard drift further into the dark. Let your heart slow and your breath deepen and your body grow quiet and warm. The dream will come. It always does, and it will feel real until it doesn't. And that's okay, because even the unreal can help us heal. Even the impossible can bring us peace. Even the things that never happened can leave behind something real. Just rest now. The dreams are ready, and now you are past the threshold. The voice that guided you here has become more like weather, soft, atmospheric, barely noticed. Your thoughts are no longer thoughts, not in the way they once were. They're more like shadows slipping behind curtains or bubbles rising through deep water, slow, diffuse, floating toward the unreachable. But even here, in this place just before sleep, where you're more sensation than self, there is one last question, like a candle still flickering in a distant hallway. What exactly is happening to your brain right now? Not hours ago, not earlier in the night, but right now, in this exact moment between awareness and unconsciousness. It's a strange, beautifully orchestrated dance, one that scientists still don't completely understand, because this precise moment is hard to capture. It slips away the second someone tries to look directly at it. Still, we know a few things. The process of falling asleep is called sleep onset, and it's not a switch. It's a spectrum. You began in wakefulness, with fast, active beta waves surging through your brain. Then, as your body began to relax, your brain shifted into slower alpha waves, often linked with calm alertness, meditation, and drowsy peace. But now, you're entering stage 1 non-REM sleep. Here, alpha waves begin to fade. Theta waves emerge, slower, dreamier, like soft waves washing over a distant shore. You're still technically aware, but only barely. A whisper could wake you. A flicker of light could pull you back. But if left undisturbed, you drift deeper. And your thalamus, the part of your brain that normally relays sensory information to the rest of your cortex, begins to go quiet. It's like closing the gates of a great castle. No more incoming messages, no more disruptions. The world is still out there, but it's being filtered. Your body, meanwhile, is slipping into paralysis. This is a kindness, a protective act. It's called REM-atonia, and it ensures that you don't act out your dreams. Your muscles are being gently turned off, like lights in an old theater after the final act. First the limbs, then the jaw. Even the tiny muscles behind your eyes relax before they later begin their rapid flickering dance. But right now, you're in a liminal space, a soft hallway between logic and illusion. Here, strange things often happen. You might hear your name whispered from nowhere. You might see a flash of light or color behind your eyes. You might feel as if you're falling or floating or momentarily lost. These are called hypnagogic hallucinations, and they are normal. They're your brain letting go of consistency, letting imagination override reason. Sometimes they're eerie, sometimes beautiful, but always transitional, like the flickering lights before a dream begins. You may already be experiencing them. Maybe you saw a shape that wasn't there, or heard a sound with no source, or forgot for just a moment where you are. That's your brain, shifting gears. Let it. Don't fight it. Don't try to make sense of it. Just float. The systems that kept you tethered to the external world, your balance, your coordination, your self-awareness, are going quiet now. Instead, the default mode network of your brain, the part responsible for self-reflection and wandering thought, is beginning to hum. This is the orchestra of dreaming preparing to play. And in this delicate state, something else remarkable begins. Your brain starts consolidating memories. Even though you feel like you're doing nothing, like you're melting into the pillow, your hippocampus and neocortex are passing information back and forth like careful scribes. They are deciding what to keep, what to discard, and where to file each piece. It's not always logical. Sometimes the most important memory of the day is not what happened, but how it felt. That odd smile from a stranger, the quiet pride you felt after finishing something, the ache of something unsaid. These emotional signatures are being tagged and preserved, often during this exact transition. And if a dream happens to borrow from those memories, twisting them, reimagining them, remixing them, it's not by accident. It's your brain's way of learning through simulation. By imagining possibilities, even absurd ones, your brain rehearses for reality. It's running quiet drills for future emotion, preparing you for what you might feel one day: love, loss, triumph, fear, so that when the real moments arrive, you're not entirely unready. So if you dream tonight of strange places, or familiar faces out of context, or events that never happened but feel important, know that it's all part of this quiet, sacred process. You are not doing it. You are being done. And that's the secret of sleep. You don't fall into it like a drop into water. You're drawn into it, slowly, carefully, by the most ancient, intelligent systems in your body. You are being carried. Let it carry you. No need to guide, no need to think, no need to know when the moment finally tips over from listening to dreaming. By the time you notice it, you'll already be on the other side. You may not realize this, but you've already started to dissolve. Not in a scary way, not in a way that should concern you, in the most gentle, most necessary way. The way a wave becomes ocean again. Your thoughts, once crisp and outlined, have blurred like ink in water. Your sense of self, the you that listens, that watches, that waits, has become quieter. You are no longer a character in a story. You're the atmosphere in which stories happen. And yet, somehow, you are still here. This is a mystery that even science finds hard to explain. How is it possible that you can be almost gone and yet still feel so present? This is the essence of the dream state, a paradox, a state of being where time bends, where faces shift, where rules evaporate, and where your deepest memories come dressed in new costumes, playing roles in dramas you didn't know were rehearsing inside you. Let's pause for a moment, even here, and observe what's happening. You're most likely in stage 2 non-REM sleep now. Theta waves are dominant, and sleep spindles, tiny bursts of oscillatory brain activity, are dancing like fireflies across your neocortex. These sleep spindles help protect your sleep from disruption. They're your brain's bouncers, keeping unwanted noise, light, or temperature shifts from waking you. Each one a tiny shield, a flickering signal that says, "Not now. Let the body rest." At the same time, K-complexes appear. These are sudden, sharp waveforms that respond to internal or external stimuli. Your brain's way of checking if something is worth waking for. Most of the time, it decides no, because even in its quietest state, your brain is still a vigilant guardian. But here's the secret. The more you trust it, the better it does its job. The more you surrender, the more your brain can focus on its miraculous duties. Repairing tissues, regulating hormones, stabilizing emotions, solving problems you didn't finish solving, and preparing you, gently, invisibly, for REM sleep. That's the stage where the dreaming becomes real, where your eyes flicker under closed lids, where your heart rate quickens, and where the theater of the mind opens its curtains and begins the show. But you're not quite there yet. You are still gliding down the gentle slope. And it's okay, because this slope is rich. This is where your brain takes the raw footage of your day and decides what belongs in your highlight reel, where it compresses, tags, sorts, and sometimes rewrites. Think of it like editing a film. Some scenes are trimmed, some lines of dialogue are enhanced, some details are added that never really happened, but make the memory feel more complete. It's not deception, it's compression. Your brain is doing its best to make a complex world feel coherent, even if it cheats a little along the way. This is why memories change. Not because you're broken, because you're adaptive. Because reality is not a static tape recorder. It's a dynamic story you re-author each night, just a little bit, so it fits better in the evolving shape of who you are. And right now, this exact moment is part of that editing process. So if you find yourself revisiting something from earlier, a thought, a regret, a smile, or if your mind suddenly conjures a door, a window, a long hallway, a train station, a mountain, a place that feels real but isn't, don't stop it. These are not just dreams. They are you reassembling yourself, smoothing over the rough edges, filling in the blanks with metaphor and music. Let the fragments swirl. Let the logic go soft. Let everything shift and blur and bloom, because the stage is almost ready. In a few moments, perhaps already, the REM phase will begin. And then you will lift off, not like a rocket, not with noise and fire, but like a feather caught in a breeze. Light, effortless, directionless. And you'll enter the world where the impossible is ordinary, where the dead speak, where the sky is a mirror, where the rules are emotional, not physical, where you might find yourself flying, not because you chose to, but because you never questioned that you could. And if, in that dream, someone asks who you are, you might answer with a laugh, or a memory, or a feeling. Because in the dream world, names don't matter. Only presence does. And right now, your presence is full. You are not lost. You are immersed. Float here as long as you like. The real world will wait. And when it returns, you'll be just a little more whole than before. And now, here we are. The final bend of the river. The closing echo in a long, slow hallway. The place where thought, story, and self fade like morning mist. You've traveled far tonight. Not across miles, but through layers. Layers of memory, of biology, of meaning, each one more translucent than the last. And yet you're still aware. Somehow. Not sharply, not like in daylight, but as a warm current underneath it all. A quiet hum reminding you exist, even now. You are likely deep in REM sleep at this point. Your body is perfectly still, kept from moving by natural paralysis, a gift from your brain to stop you from acting out your dreams. Your eyes flicker beneath closed lids. Your heartbeat has become erratic, as if keeping time with a rhythm only the subconscious can hear. Your breathing shallow but soft, steady like waves on the shore of some hidden dream beach. Inside your mind, the lights are on. Fully on. Parts of your brain, like the visual cortex and amygdala, are more active now than when you're awake. And yet, the prefrontal cortex, the part that questions, organizes, doubts, judges, that part is resting. Which is why in this space, you can believe the unbelievable. Why you can walk on clouds, talk to animals, relive a childhood moment inside a city made of glass and stars. Because the gatekeeper is asleep. And the storyteller inside you, the one who doesn't care about logic or realism, has taken the stage. Let them speak. Let them show you what the deeper parts of you need to see. Not always what you want, but what you need. Sometimes that's comfort. Sometimes resolution, sometimes just a strange image that lingers for days, like a gift you don't know how to unwrap yet. These are not accidents. They are echoes of thought, softly rearranged messages from your own inner world. This is why, even though we don't always remember dreams, they still do their work. They wash the emotional residue of the day. They help integrate what logic alone could never understand. They bring balance, quietly, invisibly, and they protect you, not with shields or weapons, but with metaphor. It's in this REM space that traumatic memories can be softened, that emotional knots can be loosened, without waking pain. In dreams, the impossible becomes practice. The unspoken becomes spoken, and the unsolvable can simply be felt instead. But none of this requires effort from you. In fact, the less you try, the deeper you go. So don't hold on. Don't reach for meaning. Not yet. Let it all float away. The narration, the science, the names, the voice, even mine. Because soon, even the awareness of this story will dissolve. You will not remember this moment, but it will remember you. It will wrap around you like a second skin. It will cradle the parts of you that ache, and it will stay with you in your bones, in your dreams, in your waking ease, as a calm that lingers without reason. And tomorrow, when your eyes flutter open, you might feel slightly different. Not radically changed, but subtly shifted, as if someone came in the night and folded all the thoughts in your mind, the way someone might fold soft laundry, slowly, gently, with care. And if, in the moments before waking, you remember a shape or a face or a feeling that has no name, that's the dream saying, you are safe, you are whole, you can begin again, and so you will, a new day, a new you. But for now, no more words, no more science, only sleep, only softness, only silence.